Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to be my guest. Today I have from Dedham an author. His name is Thomas Hollyday. Did I say that right?
Sure.
Hollyday?
Fine.
He has written, well, he's written more than one book, but he has written Slave Graves. It's great. A River Sunday romance mystery, if you get it. Now, this is part of a series, right?
Right. I've written, they don't really follow one by one because they're all different characters, but they're all about this little town in Maryland. So.
Yeah. I like this. It's, there's a real estate tycoon who's not too crazy about, he wants his project to go through.
Sure.
And Pastor Allington, well, I'm going to let you share without giving away the ending. Go ahead.
Well, this fella is a professor at a university teaching archaeology and going out on projects.
Yeah.
And he's asked to go down to the eastern shore of Maryland, which is the eastern side of the Chesapeake Bay and kind of a rural area, to investigate a wreck of a ship that's been bumped into by a bulldozer making a bridge.
Mm.
So he has to go down, ascertain that it's not of historic importance. So this very important financier from New York can go ahead and build a new bridge and set up a big housing setup.
Yeah.
A lot of money at stake.
Oh, yeah. And so then the pastor gets involved.
Well, what happens is my hero, Frank, goes down and he investigates the situation and finds an old friend, Maggie, who he had taught years ago in college. And Frank, the Pastor Allingham comes by and tells him, well, you know, there may be a slave graveyard where your shipwreck is.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to find anything. And of course, Jake Termit, who is the financier, comes up and says, well, there's nothing there. Let's get this thing done. I know your university sent you because they're old friends there. I'm a trustee, and we are sure that you'll get this thing cleaned up quickly so we can all be happy and make some money. Mm-hmm. So that's what happens.
Now, it's you'd like to draw in your own background in the service, and you were in the Army. So this fellow, you were in Nam too.
Sure.
Vietnam vet, your hero, Frank,
Yeah.
and he had that past. So you bring this into the story.
Yeah. Frank has been away from Nam for many, many years, but he still has recurrences in his mind of what happened.
Yeah.
And when he went to Nam, he went for all the idealistic reasons and came home realizing that a lot of his friends had been killed and he wasn't quite sure whether it was worth being an idealist there.
Right.
So he's gotten to life now where idealism is sort of pushed in the back and let's get the job done and get on to making more money, that kind of thing.
So how many books are in the series?
Oh, well, I've done 9 books. I have a new one I'm working on now, which is, each of my books has, of course, this little town on the eastern shore of Maryland and the people there. And the idea is that the people there are very strong and they can come up with ways to handle major world problems just with their fists and local things. So my books are not about some hotshot counter spy or about a scientific expert or whatever. These are just regular people.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a tendency to come up with an answer to something that's hurting their little town.
This is the latest book.
That's the first one.
This was the first one.
The book that I'm writing now is about global warming.
Yeah.
And it's the first horror book that I've written. And
Horror?
Horror, yeah.
Oh, it's got a chill factor.
Oh, it's awful. As a matter of fact, I think about what happened in it, and it gives me the chills.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing that you can put in your mind all of a sudden and say, oh my God.
What's the title of it, Thomas?
It's called Prancers.
Prancers.
Yes.
When will that be out?
Well, I hope probably by June or July.
Oh, good. That's pretty soon.
Now, this book is going. The first new thing I had a fellow come to me, a SAG narrator. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild.
Mhm.
And he came to me and he says, Tommy, I would like to narrate your book, Slave Graves. So I said, fine. And so and I'm honored. So it's in process, and it'll be out in March on Audible, which I like to think is kind of neat, because Audible is the way a lot of my millennial friends read books now.
I have a millennial son. He prefers to go to Barnes and Noble and buy the books.
It's rare, though. What normally happens is a lot of people now work out in the gym or drive in the car or whatever, and they listen to books. And it used to be that you had discs and so forth, but now it's become Audible. And you subscribe to these books, and they go right into your cell phone and right into your Bluetooth. Or to the little earbuds, and quite frankly, it's the new thing, and very exciting.
To me, it's like when I'm reading a book, I'm hearing it and I'm seeing it like a movie in my own mind.
Yeah.
I like my own. Okay, so this was the first one. Now, this Waterboat must have been. Is this the second?
This boat is the last book that I published. Warboat. It's about the same little town.
Yeah.
And in this case, the town has Nazi U-boats cruising up and down the Chesapeake.
So this was way back in the 1930s or 40s.
1940.
Yeah.
But this young man in Maine, his grandfather was killed on this boat by the U-boats because of the betrayal of a local trader who nobody knows.
Yeah.
So the son goes down, the grandson goes to River Sunday and starts looking around to see who these people were, who this guy was, who was the trader that nobody knows. And he finds all kinds of, this goes back obviously in modern times, and he finds out all kinds of strange things about this town. For one thing, it was settled, part of it was settled by the British or the English, but part of it was settled by Germans who were of Viking stock. And they have a community nearby, which is a company almost, and a company town, which is controlled by a bishop who is of Viking background, almost a Viking religion. Net result is it's like a clan, and nobody knows much about them. So he gets involved, and he meets a wonderful young woman who's an archaeologist who helps him to find out more about this Viking group and their history and their archaeology. They settled in the early days too. Yeah. And he becomes more and more involved in finding out what happened to the boat that his grandfather was on, which apparently went down in the Atlantic, sunk by a Nazi sub. And he finds out more and more about this, and his friends help him, and it becomes a more and more intriguing thing of what really happened back in the early days of World War II in this little town. Once again, building up the idea that these local people took on the Nazis, who were very strong in those days, by building their own little boat to go out and get them.
These are your books. We're talking with Thomas Holliday, and he has written 9 books based on the River Sunday romance mysteries. And this was the most recent.
Yes.
Okay, I read this one, Warboat. Secrets rarely remain hidden. And then the one we were just showing you in the beginning was the first one, right? Slave Graves. What a wonder-filled introduction to the South of the new century. I couldn't put it down. Somebody raved about it. Now, the one that you have coming up, Prancers, right?
Yes.
I got a good memory here. Is that going to be part of this, or are you going to start something new?
Oh, that'll be book 10, but that's just numerically.
But will it be part of the River Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, but when you said thriller, I'm like, oh, wow.
Well, all kinds of things can happen in River Sunday.
All right. Thomas, how can they get a copy of your books?
All my books go through Amazon. Years ago, I used to go through a lot of sites, bookstores and so forth, and still do. But primarily now, my marketing is all through Amazon. They have Kindle Unlimited, which means that you can do the modern thing. You can go in and see one of my books and read a few pages. I still get paid, but instead of buying the book, you just read a few pages. Or another time you'll go in there and it's one of my promotions, you'll see it's free. You pick up a free book, a free ebook. You can get paperbacks. But the big thing is just to go on Amazon, look at my pages, look at my book list, and see what's going on. And you'll also see the ratings, which are probably the most accurate ratings any human being or anybody, a storyteller, can get. So you'll find that my ratings compete with a lot of big-name authors, much more famous than I, and I'm very proud of it. And these people give me a rating for all my books, run at about a 4.5 rating, which is the top being 5 means they're pretty good reads. So I think you'll enjoy them.
Thomas, where have you appeared? You know, locally or wherever.
Oh, Lord in heaven. I've appeared down in Maryland on TV and on radios. And up here I've done, well, I don't know that much. I'm primarily a southern writer or a mid-state writer. But up here I've been at book shows and things like that. And of course, the beauty of the YouTube and a lot of these places is that you carry your interviews. To me, people in Boston would like to see an interview by one of my Maryland TV stations, because those people know the Chesapeake and they know I'm telling the truth. And
who does the covers? I love these. Who does that?
we work together on them. Lisa helps me a lot, and I must say we all do a lot of research on what's in covers.
Right. I think it's one of the most important things when I'm looking for a book. The cover has to grab me with interest.
Tell me about it.
Oh.
I just put out a set of my poems and short stories called Night Bugs, which I carry on the same site. And when it got down to Maryland, to one of my groups that I belong to, the Eastern Shore Writers Association, the editor of the newsletter said, I love the cover.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not bad for somebody down there who's in the middle of all this history and swamps. And I love swamps. If you like, if you like nature, my books are filled. Every one of my books, some of you nature people will love this. Every one of my books has an animal in it.
Yeah.
So, for example, Slave Graves has a cat that swims.
Yep.
And there's a lot of ghosts in it. In Slave Graves, there's a ghostly smell of tobacco.
Yeah.
It flows through the book. It comes up the damnedest, the worst times.
Then you got a fish floating over the shipwreck.
But the big thing about Warboat is cicadas. From the beginning of the book, cicadas are around. It happened to be cicada season. So cicadas come in all the symbolic times. These bugs, which are really weird, and they appear in the story. And I had a lot of fun with cicadas.
When did you start writing, Thomas?
I started writing. Well, you have to understand the Eastern Shore. When you grow up down there, you can grow up to be one of three things: a preacher, or a politician, or work in a gas station to take care of the tourists. Those are the major jobs.
Where was this now?
Eastern Shore, Maryland.
Okay, Maryland. Okay.
Chesapeake. And I chose a career or a love of life, say, of the storyteller, which comes into the preacher and politician and storytellers. And I grew up writing stories and plays and things for my brothers. We were in a big Southern family. And I was always the one that had the liberal ideas. It's a very conservative area. And wanting to go to Vietnam for the excitement of it and the idealism and experience how my generation was going. So I had to go. A lot of writers have done this. You've got to get out there where the action is and live it and hope that you survive. And I was in international business, travel all over the world.
What did you do? What was your occupation?
International business, marketing.
Marketing. Sales.
And sales. I've been a salesman all my life.
I grew up with them in my family. I know what it's like.
You're used to the Holiday Inn Thursday night, worried about the sales meeting Friday. But all these things, you experience people, you learn women. And
you learn what? Women?
Women.
What? just run that by us now. Are we different as far as your
Well,
marketing?
you know, when you read my books, you find that the women who are always written in there are, I would say, close to the 60s idea of unisex. Men and women are the same. We always, those were the pioneered the clothes that we all wore the same thing. It was a idea that there is no difference. Well, obviously there's a difference, but a physical difference. But the rest of women are not really that much different, and you have that mutual respect.
Right.
So my characters are all strong women who usually have a romance with the hero, the male hero,
Mm-hmm.
but they're female heroes, and they balance their experiences.
Uh-huh.
And through DAM, through all these things, I've always met women who are like this,
Yeah.
and been lucky. They've helped me, and I've helped them.
Did you know in high school, in college, I assume you went to college, right?
In Johns Hopkins, that's where I went to writing
The
seminars.
John Hunt, okay. Did you know, you knew actually by the time you graduated high school that this is something you wanted to do, right?
Oh,
Besides
for-
going in the service.
Well, I didn't want to be a preacher, and I didn't want to be a politician.
Yeah.
So this is the storyteller business.
Yeah.
But you learn very early, growing up in the rural area, that you can't eat off of writing stories. So you got to go out and make a living. And one way or the other, I got through Johns Hopkins, and then I got into education for a while, and then I got my MBA on the GI Bill up at Clark University in Worcester,
My grandfather went there.
and made a living. But it was always, while I was doing this, making a living, I was fiddling with a story or a cartoon or whatever was art.
Thomas, tell us again, how can people get a hold of your books?
They can go on Amazon and Amazon Kindle, and all my books are there. They're all priced out. They're all set up so you can go and put them right on your phone. You can buy paperbacks. And as I said earlier, starting in March, in the end of March, my Audible, the Slave Graves will be on Audible. So you can buy something you can listen to on your phone. You can read them on your phone, but some people like to listen. And
I like this. You hold it, brand new book, you get to read it. Oh, love it. What was I just going to say?
I love paperbacks too. When I do reviews, and being a writer, I have a lot of writer friends. And when they send me something to review, I've gotten to the stage now where please send me a paperback
Yeah.
so I can lug it around and
Yes,
mark
sir.
it up.
Thomas, if someone wants you to come and give a presentation, book signing, can they contact you?
Absolutely.
How can they do that?
TOMAH at solarsippers.com. SOLARSIPPERS.com.
How far will you travel?
Oh, anywhere they want. One of the reasons that I never really pushed very hard dealing with big publishers is, well, I have two reasons. One, because they didn't like my work. And two, when you do that, you have to get into these promotional programs. You
Right.
travel all over the country and stuff, and it was not for me. I did the traveling when I was selling my products, my own company, but not for books.
Now, what do you see?
But I'll
coming
work
to-
around New England. Most of New England I love to go to, and I've been around. Back in the old days, when I first was starting out, I used to sell snowmobiles, and I got to know New England because on the back of a sled, which was a lot of fun. That's how I got to know New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine, because
Well, what brought you up to Massachusetts
making money.
in marketing? Your company
Yeah.
moved up in the company.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you're a Southern boy, you learn very early. Go north.
Go north. And now you're in Dedham. You like it up there?
Oh God, yes, I love New England.
You like that one.
Yeah.
Now, on the new book coming out, Prancers, when do you think, January? Did you think next
I'd
year?
say probably June.
June. Okay.
July.
Well, that's not too long to go.
Yeah, if I finish it, I'm actually almost finished. But I must say, writing that book has been the most scary book I ever wrote, because I'll tell you, all my books take a lot of research, and when you get into global warming, a lot of research is required. And this one just opened up a whole
Mm.
area of something that is terribly fearful.
I hear you. I do. That's going to be a really good book.
Not,
Prancers.
and people are not going to die. It's not dystopian or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just all of a sudden human beings are going to have to be aware
Mm.
that they're not as tough or smart as they thought they were.
It's not going to be sci-fi fantasy.
No.
No.
No,
It's going to be possibility of reality.
absolutely. There's nothing in the book that couldn't happen.
So that book will be number 10 in your series.
Yeah, and that'll be right out of this little town that I've written so much about.
Yeah.
The way they handled it.
What do your kids think about this? This is great. What do they say?
Oh, my children have never gotten too excited about storytelling.
Really?
Oh, they like the money I've made.
Well, that's one way I suppose to look. When you were growing up, did your mom or dad read to you a lot? My mother did.
We read those. Well, my grandmother, she was great on these books that had very colorful drawings of castles. I remember. And I looked up that author, and it was an artist that did a lot of this back in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents, my father was a photographer, and he used to take me along with him to carry his photo bag
Yeah.
on night trips, like to fires. In the country, everybody in town goes to the fire.
Your father took pictures of fires of people's homes burning?
Yeah.
Oh,
For the newspaper.
yeah.
And I'd get to go along and carry the
Yeah.
photo bag. And
Did you like that?
Get to go by all the firemen as a special
Oh, yeah.
visitor. That was exciting.
Yeah. You liked that?
When I was about 12, there was a big fire in my town, and everybody went. Everybody in town was there.
Oh.
And after the fire was over, it was what they call a 5 and dime store.
Yeah.
And I don't think they
Like
have
Woolworths or something?
something like
Yeah.
that. I think it was McCrory's 5 and dime. And so my father had to go in and take pictures of the wreckage, and I got to go along carrying the bags. And the owner of the store came up and he says, "Well, you really got a helpful young man there with you." And then he said to me, he said, "Is there anything you'd like here?" And he started pointing towards the toy store.
No, yeah.
I said, "You know what I'd really like? Up in the front of the store was one of my favorite reading places. I'd sit there and read all the comic books, and they had every one that you could get. It was a huge rack." I said, "Maybe I could take along some of the comic books." So he said, "Sure." So I went up, and I walked home that night.
Free?
Yeah, with a stack of comic books. I had all the classic comic books, all the Walt Disney comic books, Daredevil, all the great ones. And this stack, I mean, I could barely go down. It was as high as me. And I got home, and I put it on the porch, and I started to work on reading all my favorite stories. And I've often said that was the reason I got an 800 on and a scholarship to Johns Hopkins from, the 800 we had the tests we just take. My mother didn't think so, though. She'd come out, every couple of days, and say, "Get that smoky thing off of my porch."
The smoky thing?
Oh,
What are
they
you talking about?
smelled terrible because they had all that
Oh.
smoke in them.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
I'm surprised with that love that you had for the cartoons. Did you ever think of going and doing some cartooning?
Oh, yeah, there's a couple of my cartoon books are on there. They do all right.
What cartoon books?
I have some cartoon books on Amazon, too.
So you've got lots of things going on.
Sure.
You've got. All right, one more time before we close. How can they reach you, Thomas?
TOMAH at solarsippers.com. SOLARSIPPERS.com.
Solar and Slave Graves are part of the River Sunday Romance Mystery Set. He's got the 10th one coming up called Prancers, which is going to be a scary thriller based on global warming, right?
I believe of all the books that I've written or worked on, based on the research I did on this and the way I set it up, it's going to scare you just as much as it scared me.
Sounds like a good midnight read to me. Oh, yeah, that's
Could be.
well. You know when you're safe and you're all cuddled up in your own bed, right? You're like, oh my God, But then you can't get to sleep, right?
And then you start looking around.
Well, it's been great to have you, and you are going to let me know when the new one comes out, right?
Oh, sure.
I really want to read that.
Oh, yeah, you'll enjoy it, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Thanks
Thanks
you
for
so
coming.
much.
Thank you.
You're really kind to let an old writer come out and chat with your
Give me a
customers.
break. Jeez. You're
And
not
I'm so
old.
happy, I tell you, that your husband is on the mend. I have my young brother down in Maryland he's gotten this throat cancer.
The what?
Had it fixed.
Throat? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, he's going up tomorrow today. We're all getting these problems.
But you know what? With places like Dana-Farber and all this, your
It's something.
life expectancy is going way up.
Yeah, I must say, though, I have my country religion, too.
Your what?
My country religion. I still keep that in mind.
You do that,
It
too.
does
That's
help a little bit.
Very much. Thank you, Thomas.
This
We'll
news.
see you next time. I'll be my guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems. Moving through the cloud